filled with energy all day today. My husband's been like taking over and managing them while I've been kind of recovering. So thank you so much for joining. I'll do a quick intro. I know that many of your community is also joining right now. So I was just talking with some of the folks who are here. If you don't know me, I'm Taylor. I like to consider myself the vegan mom who loves to inspire others. And so this is one series of a few different types of ways I inspire folks. And so in this platform, it's called Fueled by Faith, and it's all about having women who are absolutely killing it in their industries and empowering other people to live healthy lifestyles. So this series generally features women, like I said, from all walks of life, all backgrounds, who have chosen to be led by faith-filled decision making versus fear-based decision making. And so Carol, I was really excited to have her on. She's based in Fort Lauderdale. She's a registered and licensed vegan dietitian, nutritionist, and like I said, a vegan weight loss nutritionist. So I'm really excited because I know that you were truly registered in this space. And so that obviously builds a lot of confidence in the community to be able to trust what you have to say. Again, I'm just so happy that you're here. I know that some of your big passions are around empowering women to thrive on the vegan diet, vegan lifestyle, but also lose weight along the way so that they have long-term success. I always tell everybody who joins these that you're going to see me looking down a little bit because I have the worst memory in the world. So I do have to kind of keep myself on track and make sure I'm not forgetting anything. But Carol, thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here.
Of course. So I know we only have about 30 minutes together. So I'll jump right in. Can you share just a little bit about your background and life growing up and how it's sort of related to your life today? And how does some of those cool memories from your childhood intersect with who you are today and what you're doing?
Yeah, so a little bit about my background. Both of my parents immigrated here from Ecuador. They happened to immigrate here separately, though, and met in Massachusetts. So I was born there, and they got married there. And so I was very influenced, obviously, by their choices. They predominantly ate definitely animal products, lots of dairy, lots of cheese was like huge, and it's still huge in my mom's life, but in my life growing up for sure. And I can vividly remember on Fridays being super excited to eat pork chops. I don't know why, but like pork chops, like, I'm so excited to eat that. And now I'm like, I can't believe that was such a staple in our house, but that's what we ate pretty much every Friday. And I remember being very excited about it. But as time went on and as I got older, I put on weight. I was definitely overweight as a kid growing up, and my father had some issues with his health as far as high blood pressure, hypertension. Both my parents were not extremely overweight, but they were definitely overweight, I would say. And he went to the doctors, and they were going to put him on medication. And so my parents were like, I don't know what we should do. And I remember vividly my parents' friends who were vegetarians at the time, they came to visit and kind of talked to my parents about the diet, like being vegetarian. And so like cold turkey, they decided to change. And I remember being like going from like eating white bread to like eating wheat bread. And I was like, why are we doing this? Like, this is disgusting. Like I was too young to understand. But finally, like little by little, my parents changed their way of eating. And so that kind of, influenced me to like realize like how important nutrition is and health is how they're related. Because my dad, so he changed the way he ate, and eventually he didn't have to go on medication. All his lab values were beautiful. So that was like as a kid, I would see that and be like, oh my gosh, that's kind of interesting. How does that work? Just because of what you're eating, like all those things happened. So that was really intriguing to me as a kid.
So I know you mentioned that was the vegetarian shift. So how did it end up? And this was not a prepped question, but then once you shared about them introducing you into the vegetarian lifestyle, how did that sort of eventually become vegan?
Yeah. So when I started college, there was a girl in my class. She was like, I remember we went around the classroom kind of introducing ourselves, and she's like, I'm vegan. And I'm like, I remember asking her, I'm like, vegan? Like, what is that? Like, how are you vegan? How could you be vegan? And she's like, no, I don't eat any animal products because of the environment, and I'm trying to save animals. And there's this book I think you should check out if you're curious about it. So she recommended what is it, John Robbins' book, a great, I forget the name, I don't know why, but
It's okay. We can always
so
put it in the notes too. Like if you remember it later, I'll put it on the blog post so that people can check it out.
okay, so this book I read, so I'm like 18 years old, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. So I'm like, I'm gonna be vegan. But I did it all wrong. Like I had no idea what I was saying. I'm gonna eat fruits and vegetables, and like I remember they had tofu in like in the buffet line in the dorm cafeteria, and I lived in a dorm, but I remember like I was on the student plan, and they had salads and they had tofu, and I was like, I'm gonna eat tofu. And I'm like, this is disgusting. Like, how can anybody eat tofu? I thought it was the most like it was gross to me, so I didn't eat that. So I was eating salads and fruits, and I lost all this weight. And I went home for Thanksgiving break, and my mom was like, "What's wrong with you?" I got really skinny, like sickly skinny, actually.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up developing anemia, like I was iron deficient, like really bad. And so my mom's like, "You need to eat meat." And so okay, fine. So you know, it's Thanksgiving, and there's all these family functions, and there's all these like my background Hispanic, and there's a lot of animal products. So I'm like, okay, fine. So that was that for vegan for me for a while. So that's kind of how that was introduced for me as far as becoming vegan. But flash forward later on in life, I was like, I'm going to try doing this again. And so I did. But it took me a long time to finally commit to being 100% vegan. I think it's a really big thing to remember why you want to become vegan so you don't get swayed. Like there's, you go vegan, everyone's got their reasons why. Maybe it's health. Maybe it's because of, preventing suffering for animals. It's the environment. But if you remember those reasons why, you're going to stick with it because you can easily be swayed to not be vegan.
I agree with that completely. So how long how long roughly has it been since you made like the full switch without like any sort of hiccups? I hope you guys can't hear like our toddler screaming in the background. Sorry.
No, it's okay.
But yeah, so how long has it been?
So I've been vegan 5 years now, and it's
wow.
great. It's amazing.
That's good though to see you like, and you're kind of in the middle, like the midpoint, I would say, of being vegan. And I only say that because for me, like I'm very new. I think it hasn't even been a year yet, like maybe 8 months. We went vegan last November. So then I talk to people who've been vegan for like 15 years. So like, I feel like you're kind of that midway mark where it's like, I feel like once you get through like that first 5 years, you've learned enough, especially with your nutritional background. The other thing too that I always think about is like from our own standpoint is like how do you maintain the longevity of staying vegan? And so I love the fact that you talk about knowing your why, because you have to have a strong why when Thanksgiving comes. You have to have a strong why when your friend offers you something. Your brain has to go to like, okay, are there animal products in this? Like, were animals affected in this being created? And I think you make a good point about there needs to be a strong why there. Okay, awesome. So what would you say were the initial challenges that you faced, and how did you overcome those challenges? I know you talked about like being from a Hispanic background and then also having like celebrations. Like, so do you think that was a big challenge, or was there something else that you faced?
That was definitely a challenge, and just cheese. Like I think like every vegan says that. For me, definitely it was cheese. Like it was so hard for me to give that up. But now it's like it's disgusting. Like regular cheese to me, I think it's gross. And nowadays there's so many plant-based cheese options out there that I think there's some that are delicious. Like I could just eat it out, just like cut it slice, and then have it with crackers and be like, oh, like I think of regular cheese. So there's so many options with that. That was probably my biggest struggle. Like honestly,
wow,
it seems so silly, but cheese for me was something.
It's not silly.
I couldn't believe that I was ever going to give that up, and that was like I can't be vegan because of cheese. But yeah, no.
I feel similarly though. Like mac and cheese was always my favorite food like ever. I know it's a side, but it was like a complete food for me. I just always loved mac and cheese, and I really wouldn't have thought, like we went vegan last November 13th. or November 14th. I don't know. I always mix up those dates. But we went vegan like middle of the month of November, right before Thanksgiving. And I looked at my husband and I was like, we had such a strong why at the time. But then I'm like, okay, what are we going to do for Thanksgiving? We did end up having vegan mac and cheese and it was delicious, but I was still struggling. But I did find that your taste buds change over time. So I think like sometimes I'm like, doesn't this taste like chicken? And my husband's like, no, it doesn't. Even though he's been vegan the same length of time, I think in your brain plays a lot into what you actually experience. So I love that. And then what made you decide on like becoming a nutritionist and this path? Like what got you on that path?
Yeah, so I was overweight for a while, and seeing my dad get off medication just by changing the way he ate was really, I was really curious by that. So I started taking nutrition classes, and I was like, oh, I want to be a dietitian. Like, I want to help people so they can understand have what you eat makes such a difference in your body, health and just how you feel overall and confidence. I really believe that that all plays a part. And so that's really my why I decided to become a dietitian.
I love it. Awesome. So, do you think, I know that I've heard a lot of like differences of opinion around like the vegan lifestyle and path. Like so many people talk like, oh, it's not that healthy or, oh, I've heard a lot of this, especially when it comes to like dietitians. I have heard some say like, no, this isn't like the best path for people. I don't know why anyone would go vegan. So can you speak a little bit to that? And like, how does that affect how you show up as a dietitian?
Sure. So, yes, I definitely feel that some dietitians would not agree with the vegan lifestyle, and that's okay, right? Everyone's got their opinion. But I feel as a vegan and a dietitian that you can certainly get all your nutrients. You have to pay attention to what you're eating, though, and just making sure you're eating a variety of different foods out there. You eat the same foods consistently, well, you're missing out on nutrients for sure. Also, I feel as a new vegan, you should get a baseline of lab values and not just general lab values. When you go to the doctor, they just give you two different labs that I think most people know what I'm talking about. There's other labs as a vegan that you should be concerned with. And then get a baseline and then start eating vegan and then go in 6 months and see where you're at and then go after that on a yearly basis just to make sure you're getting all your nutrients for sure.
Do you know what type of lab that would be that they need to look into, Carol, by chance, just so then we kind of know? I was just at the doctor's office getting labs and I got all my results back and I was like, yes, I knew I was crushing it. But to your point, that was probably fairly basic. I did ask them for iron. I think that's a separate test, the iron test. But so is there something that people should be asking? Do you know?
Sure. So B12 for sure, folic acid, omega-3 panel, if possible, zinc, and vitamin D. I think most people get vitamin D these days. So those are some basic ones I would suggest getting. So you have a baseline and then get tested, right? And then make sure you're eating balanced. And if you're not eating balanced and you get labs, you're like, oh, look, I may need to take an iron supplement, for example. Then you take it. There's some nutrients like B12, which is probably a little tricky to get sufficient amounts. So that's one that I would say most likely you really need to take it.
Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I take zero supplements and maybe I should start. I hate the idea of having to like, even non-pill form, I still just feel so weird about having to like have a new habit, right? So, I mean, what would you say to people who don't want to have a new habit? I know I'm going totally off base of the questions that I sent, but.
So, I don't take supplements every single day. I don't like to, and if someone does, I like, great, that's good for you. I think it's great. I applaud them. But so what I tell my clients is, start with once a week and then eventually maybe build it up to 3-4 times a week. Because I understand, I personally don't like taking them every day. I don't know, out of laziness, for whatever reason. But I encourage, my clients to take as much as they can, as often as they can. And I would start with once a week and then eventually make it twice a week. And then maybe even up to 4 times a week would be a goal. Okay,
that's great. So I know we're running already slowly dwindling down to time. I have a few other questions, actually a lot of other questions, but so thinking about sort of, I know a big component, not just the dietitian component, you want to empower women to have more balanced lives. How did that all tie into you becoming a dietitian? Was it part of, I know you talk about being overweight formerly and like, so how did you tie those two together and land there?
Yeah, so since I was overweight for many years and going vegan, I did lose weight, but I did it all wrong and I became iron deficient. Like I developed that iron deficiency anemia. I wanted to understand how you could be healthy, become vegan, and still be able to lose weight and doing all the right things, like making sure your
Yeah.
meals are balanced, making sure you're having proper snacks if needed, and just feel great, like feel amazing. Because I know being overweight can make someone feel a little bit insecure, and I can definitely understand that. Um,
Hmm.
like even going to the gym and just feeling insecure about the machines because I'm not liking the way I looked in my workout clothes.
Hmm.
So being vegan, losing weight was always something that I struggled with for years, and being vegan, since that's the lifestyle that I chose, I think the two, I wanted to combine those two, and that's kind of how this came about, the vegan weight loss nutritionist
I
program.
love it. And I love how informative you are while also making it fun. Your reels are like so on point. I watch them every day. I don't miss any of your reels, Carol. So thank you
Thank
and
you.
keep putting them out there because I really do love like your content. So what does your day-to-day eating look like? And I know you mentioned vegan cheese. So I've heard so many dietitians talk about how much processed food, how many processed foods we should be having, shouldn't be having. Like, what does your day to day look like? Are you mostly focused on whole foods or is it a combination?
Yeah, so I think it should be a variety. Like every week, I choose different vegetables and different grains and different fruits to incorporate. So I'm getting different nutrients that way. If you're consistently eating the same thing, you're missing out on all the nutrients. And I think processed foods, like let's just say like Impossible Burgers, if you enjoy them, I think they should be part of your diet, not every single day,
Okay.
but incorporate them in moderation. I think it's totally fine.
Okay.
Also, if you start eating more whole foods, like more like beans, legumes, tofu, and less processed foods, your taste does adjust, and you're not going
Hmm.
to miss those processed foods as much. You'll be surprised. And eating those processed foods on a regular basis, your energy level isn't really there because you're not getting a lot of the nutrition. And thinking that you're taking a supplement or supplements and then eating these
Hmm.
processed foods, it's definitely not the same things.
Yeah.
Like you need
Yeah.
to incorporate more whole foods, and then take some supplements is beneficial as well. And if you like some of those, whatever Impossible Burgers, incorporate them, but just not every single day. Would be my
That's good.
suggestion.
I see some folks saying hi in the chat. Hi, Ebony. Also, I see Bahavani says that she takes a vitamin B complex, C, and a D daily. So you're killing it. Good job.
Yeah,
I'm like,
awesome.
I need to jump on that bandwagon. If you guys have questions for Carol, feel free to submit them in the questions or in the chat. And we'll try to get to them. I'll run through some of my other questions here. That was really informative, and it honestly does really. Hey, Sydney, it really does encourage all of us too to start thinking about changing things up because I'll be honest, I love tofu. I could probably eat tofu for breakfast, lunch, and dinner and be happy, but you're right, I'm not getting all of the nutrients. So I know there's also like an argument on tofu. So many people talk about that. Have you heard about like the whole men eating tofu and estrogen what do you think about it?
I think it's totally fine to have soy products. I wouldn't encourage someone to have soy milk, soy yogurt, soy cheese, vegan burgers that are made of soy. Like probably that I wouldn't suggest. But incorporating like tofu and tempeh where it's more whole, like in its whole state, and like
Mm-hmm.
edamame, like whole state, I would be totally okay with that. There's a lot of misinformation out there when it comes to soy. Like if you were to Google it, it's just like, what am I supposed to believe? There's so many different opinions out there. Um,
Exactly.
I encourage individuals to consume soy, like
Okay.
tofu, edamame, tempeh for sure.
Okay, good. Yeah, I'm really starting to love tempeh as well. So one of your offerings I'm most excited about are your customized meal plans. Can you talk a little bit about that and how do you find time to create these meal plans? Like what does your process look like?
Sure. So the meal plans is not something I encourage. Actually, I do
Oh,
have them available. I don't wouldn't suggest someone buy them a la carte because having a meal plan is is good for a very short time, but you're not learning about how to eat properly. You're not learning what's a balanced meal or what's a balanced snack. And following a meal plan, you're not. It's not like real life. Like you're able to do a meal plan, sure, for a short time and maybe you'll lose weight. But the reality is you need to understand what carbs are, what fats are, what proteins are, and how to make them a vegan meal so you feel satisfied.
Okay. That's good. No, that's really good. I've learned a lot, honestly, about shaking up my meal plan, not meal plans, but like our regular cadence of breakfast, lunch, and dinner here. So I know that you're cross-referenced as well. I was looking at your website and I was like, I'm so impressed. You're cross-referenced on like so many notable publications like Insider, Live Strong. So how did you develop content for those channels and what did that process look like?
Sure. So they're all they weren't all vegan related, but it was all about health and promoting nutrition. And so it's really empowering to talk about those things and like help individuals understand how to eat properly and maintain their health and just be healthy overall. So like
Mm-hmm.
live their best life kind of thing.
I love that. So there's so much. Okay, so I know everybody's always talking about like fake news and misinformation and like what's real, what isn't. How do you diversify your content as well so that you're able to keep content fresh that you're sharing and all of the information? I mean, this was like super informative, but how do you keep things fresh with so many folks out there sharing?
My clients' experience and with the
Love
questions that
that.
they have and what I see a lot of. And so if it's a common theme that I'm hearing and seeing, I'll try to make like a reel or make an infographic for Instagram.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool. I love that. Are you still doing the nutrition coaching sessions and group coaching as well?
the group coaching, yes.
Okay, how can people get involved and what should they look forward to from that?
They're gonna understand how the fundamentals of vegan eating. So how to make your own vegan plate, your own vegan snack, so you're satisfied and you're not overeating towards the end of the day. How to
Oh
make
yeah.
healthy habit changes for weight loss. So like if you were to come to me and you want to lose weight and you're a new vegan, we're going to change some of your bad habits. Like you're going to learn how to change those bad habits and form new good habits. So
Hmm.
form these new habits. You understand how to eat as a vegan and understand if you have cravings, what to do about it and what to do about mindless eating. And so when we're done, you can make these lifelong changes. So it's kind of like a lifestyle change. So
Love
you're
that.
good to go as far as the weight loss and just feeling good and feeling empowered when it comes to your vegan choices.
Okay, so I want just an insider tip if you can give it, and you can totally say no. But what's one of the tips you give to people who struggle with cravings? Because I'm not gonna lie, I only ate popcorn today. It was a little bit of a busy and sort of lounging day. So all I've had is popcorn and it's 6 o'clock. So I know that I'm probably gonna eat a hefty dinner. What do you say to somebody who struggles with cravings often? Like, what's one tip if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, sure. So I would say have a consistent eating schedule is one thing. Like that's that's gonna go that's gonna go long. So if you're not eating and now it's 6 o'clock and all you do is popcorn, yeah, you're gonna be most likely super hungry. You're gonna have dinner and then you're still gonna be hungry and you'll end up
Yeah.
eating whatever you can find in your pantry.
It's true. It's so true. Okay. Consistent eating schedule. Also, when you talked about habits, I've heard it's so good just for you guys out there. If you want to form a new habit, pair it with something you already do. So, like, say you want to drink more water, pair it with brushing your teeth. Or say, like, every time you go and get your coffee and you're driving, like, pair any new habit that you want to add into your life with something that you're already doing. So, if you're going and picking up coffee, or if you're going to drop your dog off at a location like a play center, like pair whatever that
Yeah.
new habit is, like listening to an audiobook with that activity. Yeah, Atomic Habits. That's great. I actually haven't even read the whole book. I just read like a snippet from it, and that's great.
That's a
Thanks so
great
much.
book, Gina.
So what one piece of advice would you give, Carol, to those who are looking to go vegan and they're a new vegan? Like just number one best tip that you would give to that person?
Yeah, so know your why. I mean, honestly, that's what's going to keep you motivated to stay within this lifestyle, is know your why.
Okay, that's good. Are you working on any big projects right now that you want to
I
share?
am. I'm excited to share them when they're available.
Okay. You see me ready to push. Like, can you give us like at least a hint without giving it away, obviously?
Um,
If it's too
it's
hard, we'll skip it.
okay.
Okay, we'll skip that. Do you have a favorite quote or mantra? I always have to ask people this because I want to know what really fuels you each day. What's like your favorite quote or mantra?
So I don't have a favorite quote or mantra, but I will say is take care of your health, right? Because if you don't take care of your health, who's going to take care of it? Number one. And also, if you're not able to take care of yourself, sometimes I have clients that come to me and they are like, I'm done taking care of everybody else. It's time for me. So you have to take care of yourself, show up for yourself, because that way you're able to take care of your partner, your spouse, your kids. You're able to be there for them, your parents, your family, your friends.
I
So
love
it's
that.
really important that you take care of your health.
I love that. Everyone's saying how amazing you are in the chat. So I'm just so happy you're here. And just to close, we're like doing really good on time, Carol. You're like very, very efficient with our time. So this is great. Last two questions. First is what are you watching on Netflix right now or whatever your favorite provider is? And then the last question, if you can just close out with how people can connect with you, how you want them to stay engaged with you and all that you're working on, since it sounds like you have some big projects coming up.
Sure. So on Netflix, Ozark is really, I love Ozark. Yeah, but season 4, I don't think it's coming out in August. I think I just saw. So, but I'm excited for that. But I don't think it's coming out in August, season 4. So that's
Yeah.
something I really enjoy watching, and I'm like waiting for. Watch.
I love it. Unfortunately, I couldn't get past like season 2, I think it was. I'm stuck somewhere in the storyline, but I will have to get caught up since you really swear by it. And then how can people connect with you? How do you want to stay engaged with the audience?
Sure. So you can find me on Instagram at vegan dot weight loss dot nutritionist. So it'd be great. I'm definitely engaging. Hopefully, you guys find me engaging.
Absolutely.
Um, yeah, and also I'm on TikTok, and I am vegan weight loss nutrition.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, if you guys have questions about how to connect with Carol, I'm definitely going to post that on the blog, my blog. It's www.thetaylorisms.org. Carol, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This was so informative. I have some action items that I want to take away, and I just appreciate you taking the time. I know that you're so big on empowering women to live balanced lifestyles, and you've honestly, in this time, I know everybody's been super chatty in the chat, and they've been able to talk about their experiences there, but you've also really inspired my life. So keep doing what you're doing. You're really making a difference, and this goes a long way. Like everything we put out there, like it touches someone, even if we don't see the direct effects right away. So keep doing what you're doing. You're creating big ripples.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Taylor, and I really
You're
appreciate the
welcome.
comments.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll see you soon.
Bye bye.
Bye.